So I understand that there are a lot of people that are skeptical of what Mike McCarthy brings to the table, and I get it. I'm not saying the dude's perfect. However, there are a lot of people that are still not willing to give Mike McCarthy his credit. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how Mike McCarthy stepped in, what he's done, and really what he's done to deserve my form of respect and credit as he should the rest of Cowboys Nation. Now before we begin, if you can like this video, that'd be greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you're new, hit the notification bell. And if you wish to support the channel even further, by all means, hit that join button and become a channel member today. Now look, I get it. Mike McCarthy isn't like the greatest coach in the NFL, by no means, but he's definitely better than his predecessor in Jason Garrett. And I have always advocated and said this. I'm not asking for Mike McCarthy to come in here and be a Bill Belichick, a Sean McVay, anything like that. I just need this guy to come in and be better than Jason Garrett, and he has. I don't understand why anybody wants to sit around and be like, well, if we look at it this way, he doesn't discipline his play, which I understand. That I'm not saying Mike isn't avoiding criticism or should be not getting criticism for certain actions, like with the penalties and stuff like that. 110%, I get that, but it's the actions that Mike McCarthy has done and the way this program has progressed under his leadership that should be getting praised, right? With win number 10 against the Texans, the Cowboys now have back-to-back 10-plus win seasons since 95-96, and in fact, if they win 2 more games, they will have had 12 or more wins back-to-back since 94-95, which is something, again, that I think a lot of Cowboys fans don't realize, that that's something that the Cowboys have struggled with, is consistency. With Jason Garrett, it was up and down or 8-8, which is something that absolutely pissed us all off. And I think that that's another thing, is Cowboys fans aren't used to having this consistent level of success. And in fact, when your quarterback goes down, the fact that your team can be relatively competitive in games and you don't have to just scratch that off as a loss, that's something that a lot of us are getting used to, right? Like with Jason Garrett, he only had 1 win or 2 wins without Tony Romo aside from the 2010 season. But you have Mike McCarthy here who's 9-9 or 8-8 without Dak Prescott. That's impressive. That's damn near impressive. And also, the guys that he's brought into the building have definitely helped. Coaching matters in this league, guys. When it comes to Jason Garrett, the part that pissed me off about Jason Garrett is I don't have a problem with him delegating his responsibility to coordinators, which he did, and I appreciate that. The problem is he delegated to coordinators that were past their time and were not willing to adapt or change. When you look at what Mike McCarthy did, he got Mike Nolan in here to be your defensive coordinator. That experiment failed year 1. Guess what? They fired him and brought back in Dan Quinn here to be a defensive coordinator again. Right? And that's something that a lot of people don't understand, is that the fact that Mike McCarthy, which by the way, Mike Nolan is a close friend of his, he could have just been like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to get... No, he recognized what we had to do, and he made the change. I know ownership had something to say about it too, but that is something that you have to realize and give credit to. Because, we could be sitting here talking about how Dan Quinn's the defensive coordinator somewhere else and that, oh, wow, I wish the Cowboys went and hired him, which I'm glad they did. And guess what? Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn have a damn good relationship to where they don't have to fight over even all the dumb speculation, right? That is how this thing has gone, and I'm definitely loving how he's responded to the hot seat questions. Oh, is Dan Quinn going to take your job? Or, hey, have you heard what Jerry said here? He's done everything that I've asked, and the way that he's answered and done press conferences is a lot better than what Jason Garrett did. It seems a little bit more, unique. With Garrett, it was a bit more robotic. I understand I don't really put too much weight into press conferences, to be real with you. But hey, you know what? At least Mike is willing to be honest. And, the one thing, too, is the aggressiveness. I get a lot of... See, here's the part that pisses me off about Cowboys fans, is that there will be Cowboys fans that were mad about Jason Garrett not going for it in 4th and 1 or 4th and however many situations. And now that You have a guy that's willing to go with what analytics say a little bit, sometimes too much, but I would prefer you be more aggressive than conservative because now you have Cowboys fans bitching about how aggressive he is. You guys can't have it both ways. That's not how it works. That's just... If the Cowboys had someone like Sean McVay, people would be getting pissed off about, oh, why are we going for it on fourth down here? People are so damn annoying, and this is why I don't like Cowboys fans as much, is because they have such a short-term memory to where they're complaining about the in and out, which I'm not saying, once again, that Mike McCarthy is immune to criticism. I have criticized him as well, but you can't just sit there and be like, oh, well, Mike McCarthy is trash and this, that, and the third. But weren't we just saying the same shit about Jason Garrett? And honestly, we were complaining a lot more about Jason Garrett than we were about Mike McCarthy. And I remember that vividly. So you got to think about it too, that at least with Jason Garrett, sure, you drafted well, but you had inconsistencies in the regular season. With Dallas, are they inconsistent in the regular season? Still, yeah, but they're winning games. They're finding ways to win games. With Jason Garrett, your inconsistency killing you because you had no game plan, and the in-game adjustments are way better than what Jason Garrett has done. The Cowboys have been notorious to being a second-half team, and I'm okay with that because you know what that tells me? You're making in-game adjustments and you're understanding your opponent to make those adjustments. That is what I can appreciate with what Mike McCarthy is doing, and as you should as well. The fact is that he's really been the best Cowboys coach, like in terms of like what has been brought to the table. You could say since Wade Phillips, but I think that Wade Phillips was a decent coach. I would say that Mike McCarthy is better, but you could say like since Bill Parcells, because I felt like Bill Parcells was a good coach. It's just a matter of the talent level that was there on the offensive side of the ball. But yeah, I definitely think that Mike McCarthy has been the best head coach for the Cowboys in quite some time, and it really shows. This guy, if you look at his track record in Green Bay, he didn't start off well successfully there. Once he got his system put in place, they were consistently a playoff team, which increases your odds of winning a championship because you have more appearances in the postseason, right? And so what I think a lot of us need to look at is how does Mike McCarthy's resolve and his willing to learn from his mistakes, like he has been doing since he's been in here in Dallas, how does that translate into the postseason? If Dallas wins a playoff game or two, like we haven't had a road playoff victory since 1993. We haven't had back-to-back playoff wins since 1995, technically 1996 if you are including the year. But I think that we need to realize that we have a good coach here in Mike McCarthy. We have a guy here that, in my opinion, is coach of the year. Why? The dude went 4-1, with your starting quarterback out. Like, who can say they've done that? And also, the way that they've game planned around it is superb. Just outstanding. And for those that think he should be fired, what, for Sean Payton? What does Sean Payton bring to the table? I'm not just saying this because, hey, you know what, we need to get a change, or hey, I don't think Mike McCarthy, we can get better than what we got there, but unless we have someone that's out there that's better than Mike McCarthy, I don't see a reason to go get Sean Payton. I think the two of them are on the same level, right? Because they've had relatively good success with their franchises. They both won one Super Bowl around the same time period, 2009 for Payton, 2010 for Mike McCarthy. And I think what Mike McCarthy has done is he's bounced back from bad playoff experiences. A lot of people forget this. In the 2009 wild card, they lost a heartbreaker. And they didn't look well. I mean, they were in a shootout, but realistically, that was a heartbreaking loss for the Packers. And they went back and won the Super Bowl the next year. And what did they do after that? They went 15-1. So there has been track records of Mike McCarthy's teams being consistent playoff teams with having chances and getting consideration of winning the championship. And that's something that I think a lot of Cowboys fans don't realize is important. The more chances you have in the tournament, the higher your odds are of winning a championship in that period of time. If the Cowboys go to the playoffs the next, let's just say we write out this 5-year contract and he doesn't come back. Let's say they make it to the playoffs 2 more years. I think that with the players you have, you might win something in that span of time, or you might make it to an NFC Championship game. If we make it to an NFC Championship game, and even if nothing happens after that, what are we going to say? Like, we might complain that we lost, but are we going to have excuses? It doesn't matter. I think that if Mike McCarthy just gets at bare minimum a playoff win or two, he's worthy of an extension. He's done everything possible. I have no way of saying that he hasn't earned an extension. Maybe if we have another disappointing playoff berth, then maybe. I get it. But, you can't be like, oh, well, Mike McCarthy is trash and he's getting carried by the team, but then if we make certain coaching adjustments that are executed well, is that on the players or is that on the coach? So I don't know. I think a lot of people have their priorities messed up with this. I think, give Coach McCarthy his credit, guys. He deserves it. I think that that's pretty much well said there. I don't know what you guys have to say on Mike McCarthy. I know a lot of people aren't really fans of him, but I am. I mean, the guy deserves credit. I think that he's done everything that I would have asked. The fact that we're 10-3 right now with arguably a more deficient talent-wise squad than last year really also speaks volumes there. And he's proved me wrong every step of the way with how this squad looks like. Now we will see how this stretch comes about, but if somehow Dallas comes out to win the division and they win 14 games, the first time, that would be the first time in franchise history, which I don't think they'll get the 14 wins. But if they improve and get 13 wins or match 12 wins, I've never seen a situation like that with Jason Garrett ever. That's never happened, right? That's never happened with Wade Phillips. That's never happened with Bill Parcells, Chan Gailey, Dave Campo. You would have to go back to Barry Switzer. And people think Barry Switzer was a terrible coach, which I think it was meh. But come on, guys. Give him his credit. And I think that's where we end off there. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I got a good, interesting video coming out tomorrow that's going to be about the whole Mike Parsons and Jalen Hurts thing and my thoughts on it. So stick tuned for that, and I will catch you guys in the next one. So please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and have a good one.